Hello everyone. Now Prakrit can start. Now we are live.
Hey everyone, a very good evening, afternoon, or morning to you all from wherever you are. I hope everyone is as excited as me for the second session of the SheBuilds Hacktoberfest events happening from 16th of October to the 22nd of October. Now that everyone knows how to use Git and GitHub in their open source journey, we are here with an awesome keynote talk on Hacktoberfest with a more awesome person, Priya Srivastava. Priya is a software developer at HackerRank currently. She has also been a Google Summer of Code Fellow and an intern at Dynout, having experience with various open source programs like Girl Script Summer of Code and Mixely Winter of Code. She's the person you'd all like to listen to. Now, I don't want to take all the time. I'll just hand it over to you, Priya.
Thank you, Prakhar. Thank you. First of all, thank you, SheBuilds, and thank you, Bhavna, for having me here. And without any delay, let's begin with the session. Let me just share my screen. Cool. So Prakhar already gave an introduction. I am Priya Srivastava. I'm currently working at HackerRank. I've also been a Google Summer of Code student, and I've previously interned at Dynout as well. So let's begin. So in today's session, what we'll be doing is we will be talking about Hacktoberfest, and more importantly, we will be talking about open source, right? So I may tell you about how and what and how every process of contributing to open source and Hacktoberfest works. But let's just first understand why should you contribute to open source. Secondly, we'll talk about who is Hacktoberfest for. We'll talk everything about Hacktoberfest. How can you go and contribute? I'll also be talking about the beginner resources and how to get started with the contribution. Now, if you're somebody who has already been contributing to Hacktoberfest, it may be your second year, your third year, and you've contributed to open source in general a lot of times, we'll be also covering a little something about that as well. So let's begin with the very first question. What is open source hype about? We are into October. Everywhere you go, you hear about Hacktoberfest, you hear about open source. So let's begin with the question of open source. Now, you as a person who may have just started with coding, for example, you may have used the programming language Python, right? So Python in itself is open source. So when I say open source, I mean any kind of software which is available freely. You can go and look at the code. You can make changes. You can modify it. And when I say a public code repository hosting service, I mean that means essentially GitHub or GitLab or any such service. All right. So listed here are a few softwares that are open source. That means you can go and you can check out the code. You can make your own contributions there. So what does that mean for you, right? As a student or as a person who is just entering the industry, for you it means opportunities. There are a lot of programs and open source events that keep happening all the year round. Hacktoberfest is one such event. You might have heard about Google Summer of Code, MLH Fellowship. If you are a person who is not much into coding, but you love low code or no code contributions, you like to write documentation, there is something called the Google Season of Docs as well. So a lot of events and programs keep happening, and for you, it will provide you experience and it will provide you the proof of work that you can put in your resume. So you can go ahead, you can share with your recruiter the link of the PR that you have worked on, right? During Hacktoberfest, you will be creating PRs, you will be creating contributions. That is the proof of work that shows that, okay, I as a person understand this project, right? Moving on, you as a person would like to be part of a community of developers, of you want to learn from them, you want to see how they work, what kind of code do they write. You will be able to discover communities, and these are all the places that where you can find it. Now, now that we have covered everything about open source, why would you like to do it and everything, let's get started with open source. And Hacktoberfest, or the month of October, is the time where everybody all around the world in the open source community is here to welcome you, is here to help you and support you to get started with your coding journey. And Hacktoberfest is is an annual event by DigitalOcean where when you come in, you look at the projects, you can start contributing. Whoever you are, you could be a maintainer. That means you have your own project. You are inviting PRs to your project. You could be a beginner. You might have never created a PR. You might not even have heard about the word GitHub until yesterday when Vedant told you about GitHub and Git, right? Or you could be a contributor who has been contributing over time. Now you're using Hacktoberfest, or you're using this time of the year as an opportunity to get ahead and use your skills and hone your skills and just get better at it, right? So how will you be participating in Hacktoberfest? Now is the very right time. You could register anytime between September 26th. So that means right now is the time you can register. You have until of October 31st. That's a lot of time to get started. You could create PRs on GitHub or GitLab. All you have to do is look for the Hacktoberfest label, correct? You Then when the maintainer of the project will be talking about what does PR and what does maintainer, what does this label mean, but when the project maintainer accepts your PR, that's when your contribution towards Hacktoberfest happens. So the first four PRs makes you a Hacktoberfest contributor, right? There are rewards, no doubt. There are rewards at the end of completing Hacktoberfest, but I'll not be talking about the rewards because, of course, that is something that comes in as a byproduct, correct? So let's just talk about contribution and not focus on rewards. And of course, it's a good feeling of getting rewarded at the end of doing hard work, but let's not focus on that. So now that you know of what is Hacktoberfest, you know what is open source, how will you go ahead and start the contribution? There are it's very easy. It's just three simple steps, and let me tell you, you have completed one of them. It's just two steps remaining at this point of time. I'll summarize it into learn, apply, and repeat. What's the learning part? Learning part is what you did in yesterday's session. You understood Git, you understood version control, you now know how to use GitHub, how to make a PR. You know how to use the terminal or any IDE like VS Code. That was all the learning part that you needed to get started, and I'm very sure that's covered already. Now what you'll do is you'll start to practice, get a hands on, and you'll use y- methods like good first issue label on GitHub to find the projects. You could also go to this amazing website called goodfirstissues.com. You can filter as per programming language, as per label, as per repository. That's how you apply your uh, GitHub and knowledge and the Git knowledge, and just get hands on. Next thing is applying that knowledge that you have gathered all together to begin your contribution to Hacktoberfest. I like to find projects in this manner. I could say I love the project or I love the tech stack. What does that mean? We began our discussion with the assumption that you're somebody who started programming using Python. Now, today you got to know that okay, Python is open source. That means I can look into the code, I can explore the code, maybe I can even give in my own contributions there. That means you love the project Python, which is an open source organization in itself, and you can check all the projects that it has under its umbrella, and you can go to that project, you can look around, you can start contributing there. Or Python as a programming language, you are very confident of your skills, so you want to get confident in your skills in Python. I'll say that you love the tech stack. Now that you have this filtering system in your mind, what you'll do is you'll go to GitHub or you'll go to GitLab. You'll filter or you'll look out for projects that are accepting Hacktoberfest and which has the label of Hacktoberfest in it, and that's your project. That's just what you wanted to do. Um, a very nice thing I found on the Hacktoberfest website, another great pointer here, Hacktoberfest website in itself has amazing information. We'll go check it out as well. It there if you are a beginner, you can just go ahead and find projects. This is the website here, Hacktoberfest, projects.versal.app. Go ahead, filter as per language. You'll find repositories which are accepting Hacktoberfest contributions right now. So now that you have visited the Hacktoberfest website, just go ahead, register yourself, and create valid PRs. Now, I want to take a moment here and talk about valid PRs. Uh, Hacktoberfest has certain rules, right? It has certain values, like why we are doing it. We are doing it to enable you, as a beginner or a person who has already been contributing. We want to empower you. We want you to be learning, right? So, and we don't want to bother the maintainers with all those spammy PRs that are not needed. So there are a list of must do's that make your PR valid. You must look into it. Nobody wants to look at spammy PRs. Like, we all know, and within ourselves, you as a beginner might get tempted. You might feel like, okay, let just this progress reach number 4. Okay, I'll get that reward, I'll get that Hacktoberfest batch. You might get tempted, but don't give in to your temptation. This is your chance to learn. This is your chance to meet new people and be part of a community, and maybe lead it to make it your potential favorite project or community, right? So I will just say, we know that certain PRs are not good. We know that this PR was not needed, or this repository was not a Hacktoberfest repository. The maintainer was not even expecting a PR. um, there are certain things like documentation changes as well. They count as good contributions. I won't say that they are not very good contributions, but many times what happens is we force the contribution there. It's not required. Certain changes are not required, and we force it there, right? So we don't need such forced PRs. What happens if you create such PRs? They will be marked as invalid. And if they're marked as invalid, they won't be counted. After a certain number of invalid PRs, you won't be considered for Hacktoberfest as well. So this is a very important thing to keep in mind, that you will be creating valid PRs. Now you have selected your project. Anyway, you could have done it by the skill set or the tech stack, or you liked the project. Now, what you will do is you will join the public channel of that organization. We are taking the example of Python since the beginning. So, for example, you joined the public channel of the Python organization. You introduce yourself there and you say, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm really interested in contributing to this project. I'm looking forward to it." Next thing you will do is you will become a user of the project. What does that mean? You opened the repository in GitHub. Now you will clone the project and you will set the project up locally. For that, you will read the documentation. Every documentation has a getting started guide. So if you're not able to understand anything, you had just joined the public channel, right? Go ahead, ask questions, get your doubts clear. So ask for help. This is a sample getting started readme that you'll find. It's always there in almost every project. Another thing, if you are a maintainer this Hacktoberfest, add this. Add a getting started, add a public channel to your project. Everybody wants to be talking about it, right? Of all the doubts that they have. Next, you go ahead and make the changes. So you as a developer, you started using the project. Might be possible you found a bug. You go ahead, you create a issue, you speak to the maintainer that, okay, I'll be working on this issue, and you create a PR. That's one way of you creating a PR. Another thing is, might be that you did not find a bug while using the project. There are already open issues on the project here also. So this right here, for example, first timers only, is a label. So you will find the Hacktoberfest label. Go ahead, ping the maintainer that, okay, I want to work on this issue. And once you get a +1, go ahead and start working on the issue. You create a PR, and that's just that there. So that's how you create a PR when you don't find a bug. So of course there are a number of ways you to create a PR. Just find what you want to work on. Now, while contributing, follow the contributing.md. Every project has a code of conduct. Every organization has a code of conduct. When I say don't make spammy PRs or valid PRs, that also means you follow the best practices. So what you'll do, you'll go ahead, you'll read the contributing.md, and you know that, okay, for example, this project, it requires me to sign the commits. Okay, that could be one thing. A lot of uh, instructions are already given in these contributing.md. Okay, write good commit messages. So when I say that Hacktoberfest website has great content, you'll also find good commit messages. What does good commit message mean? How can you create one? It's already given on the Hacktoberfest website as well. Non-spammy PRs, we've already been discussing it for a while. And what you do next? You wait. You wait for the maintainer to give in a response and to review your PR. Now, that was assuming you made code changes. Now, if you don't want to code, what happens? Is Hacktoberfest not for you? So that's just not the case. Hacktoberfest, you can also give in low code and no code or non-code contributions. What does that mean? That means writing technical documentation. You felt that, okay, there is a feature or there's something about the project which requires documentation to be written, or you could even provide with testing, and you could go ahead and give in talks like developer advocacy. You could go ahead. So that's what I mean when I say experience. For example, in future, you're applying for a developer advocacy role. That's your proof of work that you did right here during Hacktoberfest for a project. You could be going ahead, giving a talk or a presentation, writing a blog. That all comes under uh, low code contribution. Okay, so this is something we can try out. um, so right, that's the third step. You repeat the process altogether. So once you have completed your first PR, all you do is you repeat it. You get the review, you make the changes, and that's how you continue your process. I like to look at Hacktoberfest as your gateway to open source. Don't just stop at 4 PRs. I like to call it four and more, right? Four is just the beginning, the threshold that you wanted to uh, go ahead and just get into open source, get comfortable, see how things work. And then that's just how Hacktoberfest, and you're using it, and you're using it for your own benefit. Now, in this entire process, you may say that, Priya, okay, I have already done this. It's not that easy as you make it sound. But I'll just tell you, it's completely normal. It might happen that you look at the code base and you say, okay, I'm not understanding a word, or what is all this? It's a huge code base. What happens then? Um, how I like to look at it is, you just look at one part of the code. For example, if you are working on a bug fix, just look at the part of the code which involves the bug. If you're writing a feature, just look at the part of the code that requires that feature code, right? For example, if you're working on authorization, just look at the auth code. So when you split, nobody expects you to know the entire code base. The part that you're looking at, just try and experiment there, see how things are working, how the methods, the functions are implemented. Just go ahead and play around. You'll understand a lot of things that is happening. There's no need to put a pressure on yourself to understand every bit of it before you start contributing. As you go in the process, you'll get to know a lot of things, and you'll understand better. What happens if you don't know the tech stack? I started with the bold assumption of you already knowing something like a programming language. What happens if you don't know it? Uh, what happens is we enter into a tutorial hell. We think that, okay, I'll just sit here, I'll prepare myself, and maybe next year I'll start with contributing to Hacktoberfest. Right now I am not very well prepared. What do you do in that case? I think you should just go ahead and maybe you pinged the maintainer. Okay, this is the issue that I want to work in. You don't know how to do things. Of course, you require certain basics of programming that is essentially required. But if you're not very confident of your skills, right? I will say that use that issue or use that opportunity to get better at that tech stack and learn on the go. Don't get stuck on the tutorial hell. Just don't keep watching YouTube videos and not doing stuff on your own. Get your hands dirty, do things, and that's how you learn the best, right? So that's why we say that If you're a beginner, Hacktoberfest is the event or the program for you, because not just allows you to get started. People are there to help you. People are there to answer all your questions, all your doubts, and you can just apply whatever you've been learning. Right? There's no good time to be doing something. Just get started. Okay. uh, right, that's completely how you do it. You find the project, you join the community, you communicate, you become a user. You either find a new issue or you're working on an existing issue. You look out for the best practices. You make a PR, you receive a review, and then you repeat. That's the very simple thing, way of doing it. uh, I've already discussed what Hacktoberfest is not, but again, I like to give in a little focus here that it is not a competition, it is not a contest, it is not something that on 31st of October you will be honing your skill badge, your Hacktoberfest badge, and you'll be saying, okay, this is something that I have done. Uh, it's also not a spam opportunity. It is not a free swag chance. This year they have completely removed the T-shirt that made Hacktoberfest so nice thing to the beginners. But of course, we still have the digital rewards. We still have the tree planted. Look at it as a reward to the hard work that you did, and not a reason to make spammy PRs. Just go ahead and making for PRs, just for the sake of it, or just for to get the reward, right? Now, you might, on 31st of October, you have 4 PRs, right? You might be into the process of getting the Hacktoberfest badge. What do you do now? Or how can you take this learning, that whatever you gathered during Hacktoberfest, how do you take it ahead? You apply to OSS programs. For example, this is 2023. You might be looking forward to GSOC 24. You might think that, okay, now I've got a head start with Hacktoberfest. Now I know how to apply at to organizations. You go ahead and find organizations, or uh, again, Python as well. Python Software Foundation, it participates in GSOC as well. So just taking an example ahead, uh, you might be participating in an organization that participates in GSOC, and you further go ahead and do it. GSOC is just one of the programs. There is LFX, there is MLH. A lot of things are happening, and it's not just October wherein you contribute to open source. It's all year round. And just go ahead and apply to these programs. You could even become a maintainer. You and your college friends, you sat in your hostel room, and then you created a project. Go ahead, make it open source. Ask people to join in, to make their own contributions. You become a maintainer yourself. You start your own community. You could even apply when things like GitHub Campus Expert or GDSC lead. You could even try developer advocacy. Go ahead, talk to people, talk to communities. It's an amazing field that you should explore. Or maybe you start your own project. You learned something, you learned a tech stack or something, and then you want to apply it. You make your own project. You make your resume strong. You make your skill set strong. Right. So I just like to look at it as, in October, everybody's here to help you, and it's just a gateway for you to get started. Right. Just take it as an opportunity and go ahead. Uh, so this was all about if you were a beginner, right? What happens if you've already been contributing? You're somebody who says, okay, I have intermediate knowledge of how things go around. In that case, I suggest you become a maintainer. You create your own project, you create a README, you follow everything, right? Contribution guidelines and everything, and then you have your own project. So right, that's how you can utilize Hacktoberfest and just get started with it. Okay, I'll just take a moment here, and I will say, look at Hacktoberfest website. If you search for Hacktoberfest, you'll see this website here. Just go ahead and click on participation. You'll see a lot of things happening here, a lot of good information given here. uh, when I say resources for beginners, everything is provided here. What is open source? How can you start your contributions? Where can you find projects? Everything is provided here as well. you can so look at all these things, right? How to write good commit messages is what I was talking about. So make use of everything that is given here. Read every rule, and if you have questions, there is a FAQ section as well. Go ahead and uh, just explore it and get started. Get your hands dirty, get started, and I wish everybody all the best in trying to learn things. Yes, now that's my time, Prakhar.
Uh, yeah. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Priya, for such an insightful session on Hacktoberfest. If you guys have any doubt, feel free to reach out to Priya. Her social links will be in the description of the video. And don't forget to share your learnings on Twitter and LinkedIn and tag SheBuilds. Until next time, happy hacking.
Thank you.